Good morning, everyone. My name is Ernie Hilborn. I'm one of the sales engineers for Acronis SCS. We do have a couple of slides for our Cyber Protect demonstration today, and then we'll go right into the product demo itself. First off, first slide is just a little bit about Acronis SCS. We are a separate entity, a separate corporation from the parent company, Acronis Inc. One of the reasons that we've split off from the parent company here in the US is to better service the US public sector. So we are 100% public sector focused. So that does mean that we can be much more nimble as far as processes, policies, directions for the organization as well, as opposed to just being a division of a much larger company. So as I mentioned, we are US only. So all of our information, all of our customer information, everything does stay here within the US. We're based out of Scottsdale, Arizona. We have an independent CEO and independent board of directors. So we are a totally separate corporation. We have gone through on some of our backup product. One of the other backup products, our Hardened Edition, we've gone through and had that product certified, initially with FIPS 140-2, then going off common criteria, and it is the only full backup product on the DoD-IN list, that approved product list. And then also because of that, we are self-certifying on the CMMC certification as well. We are very specifically a veteran-oriented organization. Over 20% of our employees are U.S. veterans or spouses. And we're also a veteran advocate. We have a foundation we'll talk a little bit about in a couple of slides as well, that is completely designed to be a benefit to our veterans to do career training in cybersecurity and IT. To provide them with higher paying jobs once they've left the military. The Vets Foundation is also up and designed, and we've gone through one class already. COVID's kind of slowed that process down. But basically, whatever the training involved to get both networking, security, and Acronis certifications, what their VA benefits don't cover, the foundation covers, so it's no additional charge to the veterans. So we're excited about that process. So a couple of the things on this slide just to talk about is the customers within the US public sector that we focus on, and that's the federal government, state and local government, law enforcement, Department of Defense, so civilian and DoD environments, but also healthcare as it's related to inpatient care that is sponsored or affiliated with county or federal governments, education, both K-12 and also higher ed, utilities, nonprofits. So that's pretty much our focus. And again, we are focused on just US customers today. So one of the things we'd like to point out is that because we are a separate organization, we do have our own US-based tech support group. So that does give us the ability to have native English speakers. They're all US citizens. They're all based out of our Scottsdale, Arizona office, although today working remotely, but does give you that capability of having the relationships with local US speaking individuals. The product we're going to be talking about today is our Acronis SCS Cyber Protect. This is an artificial intelligence or machine learning powered cybersecurity and data protection platform. We have versions both for on-prem and in cloud. And it now includes much more than our traditional backup and disaster recovery processes. So Cyber Protect now includes antivirus, anti-malware. We've had the anti-ransomware as part of our backup portion. So we've not only had the ability to back up and restore individual machines or virtual machines, servers, things of that nature, but we also have the ability to do the antivirus malware based upon that artificial intelligence and machine learning. We also have security management. So not only do we have the ability to scan for viruses, do the malware, but we also have the vulnerability assessments and patch management included. So we're now able to go beyond, much beyond that antivirus, anti-malware, anti-ransomware environment, but extend that patch management, vulnerability assessments, things of that nature as part of the product. That gives the patch management is how the majority of data exfiltrations, data attacks, and vulnerabilities occur because of violations and because of systems that haven't been patched properly. So part of that process allows us to do that. Also for our backup environment, we do have the ability to do deep scans for malware on our backup file. So it's not being done while you're actually having systems in production, but being done from the backup perspective. And also we have clean restore capabilities. So we can remove that virus or that malware software as part of a restore process if you're having to restore a server. So quite a few tools all in a single agent, single pane of glass, and have the ability to work with those environments. So the next several sections, this is based upon the NIST cybersecurity framework. We do have the ability, we've got the items that are part of the identify, so the auto discovery of devices, adding of automatic agent installation. We have vulnerability assessments, backup disaster recovery. As part of Protect, we have the ability to automatically add a protection plan to a newly discovered system. So we've got that capability. The Detect, having the ability to not only do the ransomware, malware protection and detection, but we also have hard drive health controls, dashboards and reports. Under Respond, we have patch management, the malware quarantine. We do have the ability to do a rescue bootable media. So we can do a bare metal restore going from one type of hardware to another type of hardware. And we have the ability to do typical recovery tools capabilities. So not only full backups, file and folder backups, block level backups, but also disaster recovery either locally or in our cloud environment as well. We have the ability now to do full forensic backups and remote desktop, all part, again, a single agent in a single environment. So now I'm going to go ahead and switch over. So this is the beginning of the Acronis SCS Cyber Protect product demo. So the first screen that comes up whenever you enter our dashboard is our dashboard screen. So first off, before I get to that point, we are accessing it via web browser. I happen to be just doing a local host in a VMware workstation environment for this product demo. But we also add the port 9877 with that :9877 after either the IP address or the local host. And this gives us the ability to go through and actually limit the number of users that could actually either accidentally or maliciously try and access the console. They wouldn't know about that port number 9877. Once you get into the dashboard, these are all live widgets, live tiles, whichever way you want to look at it, that we can move around, make it available in any method or environment you would like. The dashboard here is a real-time dashboard. So it's real-time information. So you can see that I've got systems with 70 existing vulnerabilities, some things that nature. I've actually got some patches that are ready to be installed as part of the patch management. We can also add additional widgets. So we've got a full list of different graphs, tables, charts. So I could actually come in here and add an extra widget, extra tile, and say, okay, now I've added this active alert summary. Again, this is real time, but it does give us the ability, we can either download this moment's time frame, this moment's dashboard, or we can also send it via email. We'll also talk in a little while. We do have the ability to do reports where the reports can be a day, 1 day, 7 days, 30 days, and you can have multiple reports, and we'll look at the various reports. But basically, the reports are just the current and historical information that the dashboard here has, fully customizable. Same type of widgets are available in the reports as well. And so we've got that capability. Also, we can, if we had any active alerts for any system that had an agent on it, the alert screen here, and we'll look at that as that changes as we go through a couple of utilities. And then activities is all, this is all activities, all successful logins, any errors. So a lot of different things here. I've canceled a assessment. Well, all of that is logged. It is exportable to syslog as well, so we can work with external logging tools. And then we also have a threat feed. So Acronis and Acronis SCS has 3 different cybersecurity operations center. One here in Scottsdale, Arizona, another one in Schaffhausen, Switzerland, third in Singapore as well. So we do have people monitoring for threats around the world. We can advise for threats, and they can be integrated into this product, so you can see what additional malware, ransomware attacks, things of that nature as well. I'm going to skip devices for the moment because we'll spend most of our time there, but we can all set up different plans. It used to be that we had to do all these functions in a single operation, a single backup plan, like replicating to a second location or doing validation or cleanup, conversion, VM replication, things of that nature. But now we have the ability to still do all those functions, as well as the protect features, which are the anti-malware features, the software management features. They can either be done in a single backup plan, or you can have multiple backup plans or multiple protection plans. One of the reasons that we've split this out is maybe you've got one server that is extremely busy. Maybe it's your main database server, and it sits at 80% utilization. And yes, you need to back that up, and you know that there's going to be an impact to back that up. Our agents are very lightweight, but if you're backing up data, you're going to be stressing that server to some degree. So, but maybe you want to replicate that backup to a second location. Now you don't have to have the same agent do that change or that replication to the second location. You could use one of the other servers that's not as busy to do the replication or the validation or the cleanup, those types of things as well. So I wanted to just point that out, and you can have multiple plans, assign multiple plans to a single machine, or multiple machines to a single plan. Under anti-malware, don't have a lot there yet. We do have the ability to manage both our own antivirus, anti-malware, as well as anti-ransomware protection, and we can quarantine those files. We can also manage the Microsoft Windows and a few other products as well. So we'll be working on and doing additions. We will all add in things like being able to make firewalls and Windows firewalls and a few things like that. So we can also look at software management. We can look at the patches and the vulnerability assessments. From here, under the patches, we can see a update. We can set up whether that's an approved status. We can have it not defined, approved, or declined. So you could set it up so that for some maybe you only want to apply approved patches and not all patches. So you've got some ability that way. You can also add a patch from here, select which patches you want to update for, or look at system by system vulnerabilities. We can also look at backup storage, so we can set up multiple backup locations. So I've got a network share. I've got my Acronis cloud storage environment. We also have what we call a storage node that is an optional component. There's no additional charge for it, but this allows us to do a few additional things to the CyberProtect product. One of those is being able to do system-wide or global deduplication. So our backup plans and our backup agents do deduplication per system without the storage node, but the storage node allows you to do deduplication across multiple locations or multiple systems that are being backed up. So since a majority of the operating system, for instance, is the same between machines, we can do deduplication across multiple machines with the storage node. Storage node also has the capability of doing cataloging, so you can do searching for files across systems, and also allows for the sharing of tape devices. So without the storage node and tape devices, you'd have to have the tape drive attached to the machine with the agent. And then we've got the catalog that we can set up as under reports, just going down the navigation bar. So you could set up a backup report. Here's the default one, but we can also modify that, add widgets to it. Maybe I want to add the status report. So we can have this, we can also download, or we can have it set up so that we can do daily or weekly or monthly reports, have them generated, have them either saved to a location or emailed to a location. For either the dashboard or for the reports, we can do it either in Excel, PDF, or both formats. So we've got the ability to do that. It just depends on what your current needs are. So obviously we can have a lot of information on these backup plans, but to go back, we can also do a daily activity plan. We can do a backup plan that's maybe last night's backups, that's very detailed backup report that's very high level for C-level executive. Can do thing for covered machines or threats or data protection app, patch management summary. So there are a lot of reports that we can do. We can do daily or weekly, these things of that nature as well. There's several things we can do here. We can set our protection plans. We can look at what the protection plans are. We can create various accounts. One of the things we can also set up different organizational units. So these may be for two different cities like Tucson and Scottsdale here in Arizona, or it could be for two different departments. Maybe it's sales versus HR or whatever's maybe different departments, maybe different operational functions, different locations. And you can set up an agent or an account that maybe you have an administrator that can only do backup and recovery for Scottsdale, but doesn't have access to Tucson, or maybe the HR people don't have access to, so we do have that capability to set up those different organizational units. And so that's done, both the organizational units and the additional accounts are set up as part of the accounts field. We can also look at our agents, see what the agents are installed. Again, I try and keep my demo environment small so that I don't have outlying issues, but we'd be able to see what the agent versions are. The build number is the 24600 build number, but also it would flag this if we've updated the console and there's a newer version of the agent to be installed. From there, you'd be able to click on the agent. We get the antivirus definitions, but we could also do an update of the agent remotely as well, just by selecting that. I know that one of the future updates is going to allow you to do multiples. Right now, you'd have to start one, do it, go to the next one, start it, do an update. It will be done simultaneously, but in future version, you'll be able to just select all of them and say, update the agents, that sort of thing as well. We have the ability to work with SAN storage, either as a storage location or for backing up virtual environments, if they're hosting their disk files in the SAN environment. Here we've got the storage node information. Settings, we can set up what the either the default backup options are, what level of compression do you want to have, do you want to exclude system files and folders, so we'll look at some of those as well. So with the system settings, you can also set up your SMTP environment like, so you can email reports out, email alerts out, things of nature. We can do tape management. We can also manage license. You can see what licenses you have available, things of that nature. So we'll get into the devices at this point. So currently I've got these two devices, a Windows 10, and it happens to be a 2012 server. Once we select any of these items, either one or more, we get a pull-out menu. There's a couple of things here that I want to cover, and then we'll actually set up a protection plan, a backup plan as well, and a recovery, look at a few things that way. So one, we had the ability to actually our agent to do a remote desktop connection to that device. So regardless whether it's server or workstation, we have the ability to do that via RDP connections, the remote desktop client, or through HTML5. So we've got that. We can look at what the patch, either existing patches are, but we can also look at what patches to be added or to be changed, updated on this machine. Under details, we can get information, any comments that you may have added, whatever is appropriate for your environment, what the IP address is, what the backup in the cloud space is. Here again, the agent version, what the operating system is, what kind of processor, how much room do you have, some things of that nature. We also have the ability to view or set up what's called our secure zone. The secure zone is basically where we can repartition a hard drive, take available space on that hard drive, and make it space for an initial backup. It is on the same hard drive, so if you lost that hard drive, you wouldn't be able to restore, so you wouldn't want this to be your only backup location. But within a normal backup plan or protection plan, as we call it now, we have the ability to back up to multiple locations, up to 5 for a single plan. We also can turn on the startup recovery manager. And basically, if you've done a backup, then you may want to do only 1 copy or 2 copies in the secure zone just for space reasons. But if you do have a copy of your backup in the secure zone's only accessible from the Acronis software. So a virus wouldn't be able to affect that secure zone or delete any files from there. We are seeing that some of the more sophisticated ransomware attacks are actually going out and searching for backup files by extension first, deleting them first, and then encrypting your data. Hasn't happened to any of the Acronis backup files yet, but that's one of the security enhancements. And the startup recovery manager just allows you to have an F11 prompt when you're doing a cold boot, that they would be able to actually restore files or folders from that backup on the secure zone. We can also set up and view and add this machine to different groups. So quite a few things that are available under the details screen. We can also look at activities or alerts for that particular machine and add it to a group. Most of what we're going to be doing is under the protect plan, but we'll also have time to look at the recovery as well. So if I select protect, I already have a protection plan on this particular machine. So I can either create a new one, or I'm actually going to just check my Windows 10 machine that I don't have a protection plan, so we can just create a full new backup plan. So we could either add an existing plan, or we can create a new plan. I'm going to just go ahead and create a new plan so you can see what the choices are. So we've got, obviously have the on-off buttons. We have the capability of adding additional information. For the backup portion of it, there are just a few options. What to back up? Do we want to use continuous data protection? That's a new feature with our Cyber Protect product. Where to back up, your schedule, how long to keep it, and some options that we'll talk about as we go through. So what to back up first? We can either back up the entire machine for any local devices, so it won't back up network drives, or we can select disks and volumes. So if you have a disk drive that's you're not using, or a volume you don't care about, you can eliminate that and not have to back it up. But we can also do file and folder backups. The first 2 are done on a block level basis, and the file and folder process is done on the old walk the file system, look for any files that have the archive bit changed. In most cases, doing an entire machine or disk and volume backup is more efficient, especially for incremental backups. So our default backup schedule or backup plan or schema is always incremental to a single file. You can also choose to create your own custom, or create always fulls, or even use the old grandfather, father, son type of process if you'd like as well. The difference with doing block level backups, though, is for those incrementals, we only have to include blocks that have changed in what the backup is. So less network traffic, less storage. So for instance, if you have a 200 meg Excel spreadsheet, all you have to do is, if you change one cell in that spreadsheet, we only have to back up that block, not the entire 200 meg. So go through, select the entire machine. With continuous data processing, this allows you to select, and if you turn that on, allows you to select what types of devices or what types of files do we want to be backing up on CDP. So basically for typical Office files, and we can actually look at the different, we can say, okay, what are the Office documents that are being included? So we can see that it's Acrobat, LibreOffice. We can look and see that it's Microsoft PowerPoint, Word, those types of things. You can unselect or modify these. So basically, these files, anytime you make a change to the file, that's going to be automatically and immediately backed up. So you don't have to worry about restoring a Word document to last night's backup you can actually restore the existing one. It does save it into, CDP does save it into a separate incremental backup. So anytime you do a regular system backup, it'll include those changes in that daily, for instance, if it's a daily backup, and then start creating all new CDP backups. But we can also set, so instead of just different applications, we can also come in and say, let's choose a certain file or folder. You can also add additional applications, different extensions, so you can customize it. If you're using WordPerfect, for instance, you'd be able to add that, and even though it's not on the list of devices. So once we've got the CDP turned on, if you want to do that, and again, this is turned on for per backup plan, we can then select where to back up. So as I mentioned before, we've got multiple locations to where to back up to. So I can select my first location. So I'm going to just select my network share. I can also add a location from this screen. So we can easily add additional locations, but typically after you've installed your first couple, you're going to have your location set. Then we can set the schedule. So again, our default is always incremental to a single file, although you can set it to do other items just by selecting from the pull-down menu. We also can do backups either scheduled by time, which is how most people do it, but we could also do it from time since last backup, when a user logs on or logs off, system shutdown, or even anytime, do a backup anytime there's an event log event, Windows event log. So again, most people do it by schedule. We can go down to hourly backups. We can do dailies, monthlies. You could set up a different backup plan to do a monthly backup versus your weeklies or dailies. If you need to do Sundays and Saturdays and Sundays, you can do that. We can set the start time. We can set up a backup plan to run during a certain range. So if you're with the IRS and you need to do extra backups during tax time, you can do that as well, and not have to remember to turn it on and turn it off when you're done. But we've also got some options. So for instance, we can do a start option. Don't start unless the user's idle or the user's logged off, or save battery power. We can also say don't do a backup if you're connected to Wi-Fi, or check for an IP address. So if you have a laptop user that sometimes they're in the office and sometimes they're at home, maybe you don't want to do a backup when they're at home, only want to do it when they're off in the office. So you can do some settings that way. So that's where to back up, the schedule, and then how long do you want to keep it? What do you want to use for retention time? By default, we separate the daily, weekly, and monthlies, although you can change it to a single plan. You can set this cleanup retention period based upon what location you're at. So if you have multiple backup locations, you can have the local one be longer or shorter than the next one in the chain. It doesn't really matter. So that's done on a per location basis. So I'm going to leave this at default. I'll add a location in a minute and change that to a different length of time, just to show you how that works. But very simply, you can change it there. So basically, we've gone through what's really needed to create a backup plan, what to back up, where to back it up, the schedule, how long to keep it. These other items are kind of extras. So for instance, encryption, or maybe I should say they're options. So we can change and set a password. By default, we use 256-bit encryption, AES encryption for this, although you can set it lower. That was a lot more critical when processors were slower and when before the encryption process was offloaded off the main CPU. But when you add the username or add a password and confirm that password, set your encryption level, this encrypts the data at rest. So anytime that we're moving data from one location to another, it's always done via TLS or SSL connections. So we're always using encryption for moving data. This is for the actual data at rest. Again, this is set by per protection plan. So I had one customer that they felt that their network the network security was sufficient to protect their backups, but they wanted to do monthly backups to a USB drive and take the USB drive home. So encourage them to encrypt that backup plan that did just the USB backups and to encrypt it there. The one caveat on these passwords is we do not have a backdoor. Some of our competitors do have a backdoor to be able to get into an encrypted backup file. To us, if the manufacturer can get into it, so could a hacker. So this doesn't really secure it as well. So literally, if you lose the password, you have to throw away your backup and start over again, because we don't have a way of being able to get that data back for you. So that's the encryption. We can also convert to a virtual machine file. So maybe your second location of your backups is a DR site, and you want to have those VM, whether it's VMware or Hyper-V, those files already created. We can do that. We can also do application-aware backups. So we have agents for SQL, Exchange, Active Directory, and Oracle databases. We've got a couple of additional ones coming out. So MySQL will be coming out before the end of the year. So we can do an application-aware backup and restore. So if you've got Exchange, we can do granular backups and recoveries. SQLs, we can recover just a single database within an entire SQL environment if you've enabled that. The next item here is to add a location. So I'm going to go ahead and add a cloud backup location. So all I have to do is click on add location. It now says I've got a second location, specify where do I want that to go. So I could have it go to my deduplication. I could have it go to a local directory, whatever I wanted to do. In this case, I'm going to say, okay, my cloud storage location, I've already configured it with username and password. I'm going to go ahead and put the password back in again, just to validate that. And then also once it's created, then I can go in and set the set the cleanup time period for that location as well. So there, we've got the location, second location set. If I need to in the future, I can change the password, changing the credentials, do some configuration items here. And then I can change how long do I want to keep it at that second location. So I'm going to convert this over to a single rule. And now instead of 7 months, maybe I need to keep it for 72 months. Totally depends on your environment. Again, this can be longer or shorter than what your first backup location is. And we can just go ahead and say done. Because this is the cloud location, cloud has to be the last step in the chain. So if you're going to go to a third location, you'd have to have cloud be your last, or tape to be your last, because we don't have the ability to guarantee what the throughputs are from that. So if I wanted to go to a second share, I could go to a second share and then go to the cloud. If I was going to a location other than cloud or tape, it would give me an add location button, and I could go ahead and do that. So the rest of these items are new. So the above, what we already talked about, are the backup plan items. So these are all the new protection plan items. So the first thing we can do is we can turn on any of these or off any of them, or we can configure them. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the configuration for the antivirus, anti-malware. So we still have our anti-ransomware protection that we've had, but now when we've included our antivirus, even the antivirus is being done via, and the searching for viruses is being done not only from signatures, but also via the artificial intelligence or the ransomware protection process. We've used machine learning as well. So we're actually looking for activities as well as signatures, and we can do things like with our active protection is what we call the ransomware protection side of things. Gives us the ability to either alert you and block it, or revert using cache, where we actually, the moment we see an activity like a mass encryption, mass hiding of files, we do a snapshot, use that snapshot to restore any files that we've created, that we've set up that were encrypted prior to us being able to block it. So actually, for that, I'm going to go ahead and just bring up a file. So this is going to demonstrate our ransomware protection. It's a utility. Our developer that wrote this utility is going to be encrypting these files. When he does it, as most ransomware attacks do, they rename the file. In his case, he had a good sense of humor. Not only did he say, give me money, but he says, give me all your money. And then we'll use revert using cache. So it'll be changed. This will be back to the original file. We'll show you that as well. I like to talk through what the process is going to be, because it happens pretty quickly. So first off, you'll see a window that opens up, encrypts the files. You'll see the file names change, and then you'll see that those files reverted back to what their original names. So here we go. There, we're encrypting it. If we come here now, we've changed the extensions, and that quickly we've blocked it. We've stopped the event. We've also quarantined that utility, whatever it was, and we've changed this back to a default. So if we look at the file itself, the file's available, we didn't have to pay a ransom. And so that's the processes that we use for ransomware protection. And if you notice, we now have a suspicious activity alert on that server. So we do have that capability to alert as well. So we have the ability to not only do ransomware and antivirus for protection for local folders, network folders. We can do server-side protection. Our self-protection is where we actually protect our own backup files, our TIBX files, but also services and our registry settings. We're able to protect those so a rogue ransomware attack wouldn't be able to delete our backups first, that sort of thing. We can also do crypto mining process detection. We can quarantine those files and remove those files after a certain period of time. We can have the behavioral engine. What do we want to do on real-time protection? We can also, when's a scheduled scan and what are we going to do with that? And do you have any exclusions? So maybe you've got a directory that you've got a DB, database administrator, and they oftentimes like to do their own backups outside of your backup window. And so do their own backup, and then you could actually set an exclusion to say, never block that encryption in that folder, that sort of thing as well. We can also do URL filtering. So we can set up with URL filtering. We can give them the ability to, users the ability to go through and go to a site anyway. We can set up different exclusions. We can exclude either, we can set up trusted or URLs. If we've got blocked URLs, we can add to that as well. So I could come in here and say block www.veam.com. So one of our competitors, I can save that. Actually, I believe I already have this on my protection plan for this machine, or you could do any other location that you wanted to block. We can also block by things like gambling sites, advertising sites, whatever you need to be doing that way. So with URL filtering, if I come in here and I can go to, I'm going to just go to either go to this other website. So you get a URL is blocked if it's, as long as it's a regular HTTP connection, you'll get this pop-up window. If I then turn around and go to Veeam instead, which I've set up, I get this connection failure. This is an SSL connection, so HTTPS connection. We don't have the ability today to be able to intercept and put our own splash screen in. So if you have a blocked location and they're connecting via HTTPS, they would get this screen as opposed to the regular one. I know that our developers are working on a way of being able to get around that, to have this URL block screen on both locations. But you could also proceed anyway to that location if the user chose to, if you've set it up that way. So you may have some blocked locations that they can go to and some other ones that you don't want to block as thoroughly. So I'm just going to go back here. So now I can look at my machine. I will look at the alerts on this machine and see that suspicious activity was detected. I'd also see an alert for the blocked URL alert as well. We do have the ability to configure Windows Defender or Windows Security, so we can turn that on, or we can use our own antivirus. We can also look at the vulnerability assessments. We can have a schedule for vulnerability assessments, look at what products we're looking for, patch updates, patch deficiencies, things of that nature. We can also set up patch management. So we can say only do patch management on Windows third-party products for major updates, or we can set it up for all. We can do the schedule. We can do a pre-update backup as well. So you can set it up so that anytime you're going to do a patch a system, you can automatically do an update right prior to doing the patch, add the patch just in case you have to revert because the patch didn't work well. We also have the data protection map, and this allows us to go through and looks for 66 different extensions to make sure that they're being backed up on a local basis on that particular machine, so we can do a little configuration that way as well. So we can do exceptions, we can do rules, and again, the schedule. So again, we've gone through, we've looked at backup, we've looked at antivirus, URL filtering, vulnerability assessment, patch management. We'll go through a couple more specifics as well, but just at this point, we could go ahead and create this, assign it to this machine, and be able to show you that and do all the actions that we've included in that protection plan. I'm going to cancel this just because I've been known to forget to delete it after I'm done, but we could go ahead and just assign to a specific location as well. So I'm going to switch over to my 2012 server, and we can look at the alerts. So we can look at the activities and see that we've done a vulnerability assessment, some things that way, but we can also look at the alerts. So the alerts here, we've got malicious URL was blocked, so it even tells us which URL it was. So those two that I just showed the demonstration of. But this is the ransomware suspicious activity alert. So this shows us what which device, what process it was. Why did we decide this was not a valid process? The certificate is not valid in this case. We reverted using cache, and these were the files that were affected. So we can actually go through and clear some or all of these. So we can either clear them one at a time, or I clear them all, and at that point they go back to an okay status. But now we've done backup, we've done the patch management. We can actually go in and with patch management, we can determine what patches to be adding, which ones do we want, have we already done, that sort of thing. But we can also do recovery from here. So if I click on recovery, I can see that I've now got two different locations for doing where I've stored my backups. If I had three, I'd have three that I could choose from. So I'm going to go ahead and just select from this location. I can also say, okay, I've got two different options. I've got a 4.17 gig, or I could click on this one. I've got a full backup. If I had a whole series of them, I could select whatever version I wanted to restore from. So I could go ahead and select my most recent. If I had CDP set up on this machine, I could also restore from the CDP location as well. And then I've got a couple of options here. This run as a VM is what we call our instant restore, what our marketing folks call instant restore. The marketing material says that we can have a machine back up and running on a virtual host within 15 seconds. I don't type that fast, so I definitely say within a minute. But literally what we do is we create the virtual machine on either Hyper-V or VMware with this utility, and then run it directly from our backup file. So we're not having to restore the data. So for instance, if you have a physical machine that you're backing up and the power supply fails, and you know it's going to be 4 hours before your support people come out, you can click into your backup, do this run as a VM, have it back up within a minute, run for a while. Any changes that are made will be saved as a Delta disk on the virtual machine host, and then gives you the ability, you can set up how many processors, that sort of thing, when you go to restore to that virtual machine. And then you can fail back after they've replaced the power supply back to your hardware and restore only the data that's changed. But we can also just click on recover, which actually does the recovery process as opposed to a virtual process. So we can do recovery of either entire machine or files and folders. So we've got both capabilities. So I'm going to do both, show you both, just so you can see what the differences are. So the first thing that we do when we select to recover a machine, and I will put in the username on this. So once, as I was saying, the first thing we do is we check the disk mapping of the backup. So we have the ability to change that. So if you're going to back up to a different machine, we can select either, maybe we're going to restore to disk 2, we can do that as opposed to disk 1, but we can also select volume mapping from here. So we can actually change the volume sizes. So if you're backing up from a 200 gig drive and you're restoring to a terabyte drive or a 4 terabyte drive, you can change the volume mapping so you can use the entire disk space, that sort of thing, as part of the disk mapping. Then we can decide what machine do we want to restore to. And this could either be a machine with an agent on it, but we could also restore to a bare metal machine using our bootable media. Even if it's a different type of hardware, we can insert the proper drivers and such. But we can also restore to a physical or virtual machine. If we go to a virtual machine, you'll be asked for what host do you want to put it on, where do you want to put the disk files, how large a disk file do you want to have, how many how many processors, how many CPUs, that sort of thing. And then do you want to power it on or not? So maybe for a test, you don't need to power it on, you don't want to power it on, or maybe you want to power it on but not have a network card in it. So you can disable the network card as well. So when you select either of those, you're going to then go into the full system restore. So pretty easy. If I exit back out, we'll do a file folder recovery so you can see what it looks like. So it does change the look and feel. And then you can select and drill down to anywhere. So I could come in here and say, I want to restore my temp directory. I can either recover that, and when I recover it, I can recover it to either the original location or to a custom location. If I select custom location, I can even browse to where I want to restore it to. I can restore it to a network folder, to another machine, that sort of thing as well. So we've got a lot of flexibility. We can even exclude files and folders from the recovery as part of the recovery options if you choose to do that. The other thing is that we can also download this. In this case, it's a directory. So if it's either more than one file or a directory of files in it, we'll put that into a zip file, and then it'll download it to your download directory, just like it was coming from any other machine off your web browser. So we've got that capability. So we've now gone through the backup and restore process. I do want to spend a couple moments. I'm going to go back into the Protect plan and look at the specifics of the patch management. So I can look at patch management. I thought I had patches on this machine. That's right, it was on the other machine that I still have patches that are left. So let me go to patch management on that machine. So here we've got the different patches. We can either install all the patches at one time. We can do post-installation options. We can also, as I mentioned before, we can set it up so that we do a backup prior to that patch, installing that patch. We can also look at, and I believe I can expand this window, maybe I can't. So we can actually go through and see what the versions are, what the affected product is, so we can see the product and where it was, what the utility is. We could at this point select them all, say do next, do basically an on-demand patch of that system, or we can have it be scheduled directly from the patch management screen. So other than that, the only other thing I haven't talked about is how to add a machine and how to add an agent to a machine. Again, we do have to have an agent on every machine that we're backing up, unless it's, say, for instance, a NAS machine that we don't have agents for, and then we can go ahead and back that up from another machine. So we could back it up from a Windows server, for instance, map a drive letter to it, and back up file and folder. But we can also click on Add a Machine. And from here, then we've got the ability to add multiple devices. So we can add a Windows agent to multiple machines. We can add workstation agent, either Mac or Windows. We can do a Linux or Windows server agent. So if on any of these, we can define which agent do we want to deploy. Where do we want to deploy it from? What machine? So if we want to go to an IP address or a specific fully qualified domain name, we can do that. Credentials for that user, and then in this case, it's telling us that previous version will be upgraded. But it does give you the ability to easily install it on a remote machine. We also have the ability to do let me go back to that screen. We have the ability to do the virtualization hosts using Docker on some of these as well. We do add application agents, and then we can generate registration tokens. So that way, if you've got one or more tokens that you've generated, you can use that token for remote installations. That the user or the script doesn't have to have that the username and password to add it to the console. You can also set up the token for the different organizational units. So if you want, like in my the example I had before, maybe I want to install it in Tucson, not in Scottsdale. And we can use group profiles, we can use scripts, we can use PowerShell. So there are a lot of different ways that you can remotely add a lot of machine or agents to a lot of different machines. We also have the ability to set the default protection plan and a default agent. So as a new machine is discovered either via Active Directory or on the network, we can automatically add a protection plan to that machine and add the agent at the same time. So pretty much that's the bulk of my demonstration. I do appreciate the time that you've spent with us. Again, we do offer both a cloud-based version and a local version. This was the local installation, our on-premise version. And at this point, I'm more than welcome to contact our sales team, either through our 800 number at 800, or I'm sorry, it's our, I should say our toll-free number at 877-202-0240. Again, that's 877-202-0240. Or you can send an email to salesteam@acronisscs.com. Thank you for joining. Appreciate the time you spent, and we will talk to you soon.